What's up guys, and welcome back to another EVE Online video. Today I'm trying something a little bit different, and I want to start a new series with a regular upload schedule on life as a small corporation director. At the moment you'll probably have noticed my upload schedule has been fairly random and the content's been fairly random, obviously always EVE Online but pretty random. So my plan moving forward is every Sunday to upload a video where I just give you an update on what I've been up to and try and give you an insight as to the type of things a small corporation director is having to do on a weekly or daily basis. One of the reasons for doing this is because I am pretty poor at taking notes, but what I am good at, what does help me remember when I've got to do things and I've got lists and stuff, is to talk through my responsibilities out loud with someone. So this gives me a platform to do that. But also through my wanderings on YouTube, I found there's a bit of a gap for the types of running a corporation. So I thought maybe there'd be some interest for some people to see what the type of things we do is. There's a lot of solo players on YouTube, and that's all excellent. We get to see what you can do solo, but here we can now see what you get to do as a small group, but also the responsibilities and the work involved in maintaining a small group. Now I'm not the CEO, so I don't have that level of responsibility. That's a whole other ball game. But as the director, this is what I do. So hopefully every Sunday you'll get an update on what my corporation has been doing and what I've been doing. So I'm just going to start with a bit of background on the corporation. We are disaster area, and we're part of the Alliance disaster delivery service, but largely everyone is in disaster area. You'll see we've got about 77 members officially at the moment. It's not that high. There are some alts, like I've got 2 alts in the corporation, and there's quite a few inactives there, but we've got a reasonable number, a good group of active players. I'd say somewhere between 20 and 30. So there's often people online and things to do, which means we can get some good stuff running. Our CEO is Hot Black, and by the way, with this member count, we are currently recruiting. We're looking to expand as quickly as we can to be able to do all the things we want to do, which I'll cover in this video. And if you just jump on the description, there's our recruitment advert. So if you are interested, just contact any one of these people in game, including myself or our HR director, Durrell. But you can see here that I am apparently Master of Wormholes and Director of Resources. So that jumps us straight in with my what might be considered my responsibilities. Is some of the stuff involving exploration. So through Wormhole space, I am responsible for a lot of that, although a lot of the pressure also falls on Hot Black as our CEO, and raw materials, so the Director of Resources, so mining operations, moon mining, gas harvesting, salvaging, anything that involves raw materials goes through me, and I try and work quite closely with Stelco, who is our industrial guy and is responsible for, as I say, our industrial operations, so our major manufacturing projects and things all go through Stelco. And we've got some channels. If you fancy joining, just join DC Recruitment and you'll find one of us in there. But basically, so that's a quick summary of the corporation. We have our main areas of operation at the moment is we have a high-sec base somewhere near Amar that we use as our headquarters, because for a bit of safety and things, we've got a few structures that are in a holding corporation, and as you can see up here, and we in HiSec we run some mining operations. So that's one of my responsibilities. Is every Monday I operate a mining operation in HiSec for the time being. We get a reasonable turnout. Last week we had just 5 or 6. Week before there was 10-ish people, and so I have to organise the operation, record. I boost it, so I'm sat there in my Orca doing a bit of mining myself, but I boost the rest of the team. We have got a spreadsheet with the people that turn up, because when we run our mining operations, the ore goes to the corporation so that we can still do some of our manufacturing projects, but our miners and boosters and haulers get paid a percentage of the ore value based on their time spent in the operation, because we try and make it accessible to everyone, and it becomes a more lucrative operation for some of our newer members, the guys who can't mine in barges or exhumers yet. Everyone gets paid based on their time contribution, so that way it's a lucrative sort of time sink for our newer members, because they get a share of what everyone did in barges. So that's what happens. That's every Monday at the moment. One of the challenges I've got there is, obviously, we are a corporation that's split over several time zones. We have a heavy European presence, but also a presence in the Americas. So we've got a few US guys, I think a chap from Brazil. So we've got some presence over there as well, which means it's quite difficult to coordinate operations that work for everyone. So I'm still trying to find the most appropriate time slot for our mining ops, but at the moment what I'm doing is making it more suitable for the European time zone, because you'd probably guess from my accent, I'm over in Europe. So if I'm going to run the operation and boost, it needs to be kind of suitable for me. But I'm also in conversation with another guy in the corporation that's boosting capable in the US, and we will, in the next couple of weeks, have a separate US time zone operation with the same rules and stuff, but so that everyone in our corporation has access to the boosted mining ops. So there'll be 2 different operations every Monday, a few hours apart, so that everyone can turn up. So that's one aspect of the HiSec operations, and one of my responsibilities there is the mining ops and stuff, and the raw resources. One of our structures in HiSec is rigged for ammo manufacturing. So in an effort to generate some form of income for the corporation, outside of obviously some of the low-level taxes, and there's the structures we've got with their facilities. When they're used by the general public, they generate a small amount of income as well. But in an effort to generate a sort of a bigger income, using the ammo manufacturing rig we've got to do some Tech 2 ammunition manufacturing to sell. Currently, we're looking at cruise missile production, so I've got, what is it at the moment in production, the Tech 2 Inferno Fury cruise missiles. Let's have a look at, nope, wrong one. Oh, by the way, while we're here, if you like this skin on the Raven, it's the Aurora Universalis. I don't particularly like it, but it's the only skin I have on here, so I'm looking forward to, in a couple of days, getting the Death Glow skin for the Raven from the event, because I really like that one on the Gila. Anyway, so the quick divergence there. But so if we have a look in here, I can go owned by corporation, Inferno, copies. You can see we've got some Tech 2 BPCs for the Inferno cruise missile. To build these, so there's a bit of a problem at the moment. I chose these because there was a small gap in the market, but since I've produced a whole bunch and I've gone to the markets, a few other people, like, they've become really quite popular in Amar for some reason, and the price crashed. When I first looked into it, it was about 700 ISK per unit, and it's dropped to, I think, almost below 500 now. So I need to reassess as to whether this is still viable. But at the moment, it still produces a reasonable income, because, just as a quick aside, if you take the estimated values at face value, obviously they're wrong, but they're not that wrong. You've got a build price of 23 million, sale price of 31 million, so you can still make ISK if you do enough of them. But this all leads into another element of what I do every week, and what I do, what the corporation does, is, as Director of Raw Materials, or Raw Resources, I'm trying to source everything for these myself and not have to go to the market. That's the plan. It's very difficult with Morphite. I think it only spawns in nullsec now. Like, it's been removed from wormholes, I believe. It's definitely not in high or low, so it's just nullsec. So I'm unable to source that myself yet. But the rest of this we do. So as a corporation, we have a C1 wormhole. I'll put a link in the top right for my PI operations we have in the C1 wormhole at the moment for the Tech 4 PI, but also I have rocket fuel PI set up, and so do several other members of the corporation. So the corporation then buys the rocket fuel from them, so we're putting ISK into our members' pockets instead of onto the marketplace, and we can get hold of rocket fuel, which is we need a lot of for this production line. And then we also have a structure in the C1 that's rigged for, well, not rigged, but has the capability of doing composite reactions. I'll put another card up here for my video on composite reactions that I did for making millions of ISK passively. But basically, we need to produce phenolic composites, which are produced from moon materials, which you'll see here, but I'll talk about a little bit more later. And also plasma pulse generators come from moon materials as well, phenolic composites again, nanotransistors and crystalline carbonide, to produce the plasma pulse generators. So at the moment we source most of those materials ourselves, but some of the higher level moon materials, for example, which one? Cesium and cadmium, I don't have access to yet, but I'm working on it. So I have to get them from the market, and same for the fuel box. At the moment I get them from the market, but I'm establishing a relationship with a corporation to source those every month from them instead of from the marketplace. So hopefully there'll be favourable rates, and then we just build those. So everything's almost sourced directly ourselves at the moment, which is my aspiration for a lot of the stuff we build. And we're looking into because we've got the rig, we're looking into other ammo as well. For example, I think it's null we've got at the moment. The reason we're looking at this is because the incursion guys use a lot of this type of ammo, so the price should remain relatively flat. So that's what I'm looking into at the moment as well. But yeah. And just that's another thing actually, as an outcome of this that we've touched on. So sorry, yeah, this video is going to be a bit rambling, a bit all over the place. There's a lot I want to touch on, so we'll loop around a little bit. But as part of this texture manufacturing, as I said, we have a C1 wormhole, which we've been in for quite a long time and we're well established in there now. There's 3 structures. We can do some of the R4 moon mining in there. We can do reactions, and we can do all kinds of ship manufacturing except capitals, I think, in there as well. Small, medium, large ships are all rigged for manufacturing in there. And obviously you get access to some of the wormhole stuff. So there's the gas, there's the sleeper sites, and the whole C1, in my opinion, is perfect for a new player to get used to living in wormhole life. You've got a high-sec static wormhole, and you're limited by the size of the ship you can take in. So nothing bigger than a battle cruiser can enter the wormholes, which means we're relatively safe, like as safe as you can be in wormholes from major attack. Excuse me. I have an alt mining on a moon at the moment in high sec, which again I'll touch on in a second. So just got sound running in case I get attacked. That's fine. Flick back. Where was I? So yeah, in the C1 wormhole there is a limit on the size of the ships that can come in, which means we can build larger ships in there. We can build battleships and stuff inside the wormhole, but no one can bring battleships in or dreads or anything from outside. So our structures, we should always have an advantage, is the idea, right? So if a fleet of 10 battlecruisers comes in to try and take out one of our structures, we respond by docking up, getting into our battleships, which they can't access, and go and block them. That's generally the plan with the C1 wormhole. So that's why it's relatively, I say relatively, nothing is safe in EVE, especially not in wormhole space, but it's as safe as you can be in a wormhole. And you get access to better ore there, so you don't, because since the resource changes, there is still a limit. You used to be able to get all minerals in wormhole space, but you now can't get titanium, you can't get morphite, and you can't get, which one is it? I think it's Noxium, perhaps, that you can't get in there either now, but you can get megasite, Zydrine, and Isogen. So having a presence in high sec lets us get access to the titanium and all that sort of stuff, and the wormhole gives us access to different kind of materials, minerals, so that all helps with our production. So one of my additional responsibilities in there, as you saw I was master of wormholes, is I produced a tutorial for how to use the web application Tripwire, which I'll put a link to the video up here. So Tripwire is is perfect for wormhole exploration and allows you in a corporation to share with your Corp members everything that's in the wormhole and all the links and the jump and the paths and entry points and all that sort of stuff. You can check out my video for more on that. But I had to produce that earlier in the week, and also Hot Black and I are looking into a different application as well at the moment that we think might be slightly better. So more on that probably later in the week. And for our corporation members, we may or may not move over to that in the next week or so if we decide it's a stronger offering than Tripwire. But I won't go into detail with that now because we're not sure at the moment. And then with our C1, we've been talking for quite a long time about our expanding our wormhole operations. And so there's been some discussion for quite a long time about what we should do, where we might go. And our CEO Hotblank has spent a long time hopping through various wormholes, trying to find something suitable, something that's uninhabited, no citadels or structures, and obviously that's quite difficult. But we have, in the last week, settled in a C2 wormhole. So obviously that's not a huge step up from a C1, but this C2 wormhole again has a high sec static and also has a C4 static. So that means that we'll always have access into C4 wormholes from our C2. And also in the C2 you're not restricted by the size of the ship. So battleships can come in and stuff. So it's a much more dangerous way of living, but still gives us access to high sec, so we can do things easy enough, and so on, right? So we've set up a structure in there, that's all ready to go. We've moved a load of battleships in because we need to clear the wormhole from old POCOs. I don't mean, POCOs, but also POSes, control towers. It's unlikely that they're currently inactive, and it's unlikely this would ever happen. But in order to have proper hull control, we need to remove them because there's nothing stopping the owner logging back in one day and just putting some fuel in his POS, and suddenly he's got a staging area to attack us. So that has taken up a big chunk of this week, is establishing hull control and getting everything set up and into the wormhole for us to get started. And I've also been, as part of the C2 effort and my role as raw materials, I've been looking into a Porpoise setup for use in wormhole space, so I could do a little bit of solo mining. It's not quite the same, it doesn't achieve the same as an Orca or a mining barge, but I have done, it's still got a big ore hold. Let me see if I can track it down. Personal fittings, industrial command ship. You can see the lovely question mark. This is what I've settled on for now, but I've not bought it to properly test it out. So when I posted my Orca mining video a little while ago, there was some interest in a suitable Porpoise fit. So if you're watching, sorry it's taken so long for me to get around to this, but I will link this fit in the description of this video, but just bear in mind I haven't used it yet. I haven't actually gone out and bought the skin. I appear to have 2 skins for the Porpoise, that's nice. Or do I? No, maybe not. But basically you can see here in the traits that didn't mean traits, but attributes, that it has an ore hold capacity of 50,000. So you can mine semi-passively. Let me just check here. Okay, I'm going to have to dock that up in a second. But you can mine semi-AFK. Obviously it's a wormhole, I would never be AFK if I'm out mining. But I can set my drones out and do some corporation admin work in the background whilst this is mining, and not have to constantly dock up like in my procurer, because it's only got 12,000. The drones, just so that you can go away and do the math yourself if you want to, with this fit, mine at 176 units per minute, and there's 5 of them, so quickly do the maths yourself. But also it's got a very strong tank, so I've got an effective HP of 63,000. I chucked a warp core stab in there because I wasn't really sure whether it's effective or not, and I want to test it, as I say. But basically, you know, if a lone ganker comes in, obviously if a fleet come in, it's still stuck. But if a single one-off opportunistic ganker comes in, this could be enough to save you if they've only got 1 point of scram. And also the reason for getting a Porpoise in here, the primary reason actually, is so that I can boost to a lesser extent some wormhole mining operations. So we could get a fleet of barges going, being boosted by the Porpoise. Let me just bring these in, and I will. Where am I trying to go? Oh, lock up. Not going to have enough capacitor. This ult's not very skilled yet. So I'll link, as I say, I'll link this in the description, the fit. But this is what I want to test out at some stage soon. But this investigation, so I haven't gone and bought this yet. It's not very expensive, as you can see. So much cheaper than an Orca, but slightly less effective. But I want to go and I got distracted from this a little bit by the Crimson Harvest event that's currently going on. You'll have I've done a video on the Crimson Harvest event as well earlier this week, and I will link that up here as well. But I'm not going to go into Crimson Harvest now. But you know, it's all something else that happens as part of the corporation responsibilities. We try these things out as directors because we've got a bit more experience for the most part than a lot of our members, and we want to be able to give them reasonable fits and reasonable suggestions so that they don't risk losing their ship too readily in these events. Just a quick indication just of my experience level, by the way. I've got approaching 70 million skill points on this character now. A lot of that is in resource processing. I'm currently doing Uncommon Moon 4, but my reprocessing is more or less perfect until you get into the trig stuff, where I haven't started yet. And I'm just working on Moon stuff at the moment. So I got a little bit distracted there, but we have just done the Porpoise, so that covers our wormhole operations currently in the corporation. The other nice thing is there's lots of combat sites, and having a constant C4 static, we can go and do, if it's safe to do so, some fleet sleeper combat sites, which is always good fun and quite lucrative. So as I said, it's going to loop around quite a bit, this video. It's already running a bit longer than I would have liked, but we'll keep going for now. As part of the Tech 2 manufacturing, and I want access to as many different kinds of moon materials as I can get, someone very kindly, a viewer on one of my other videos, very kindly told me about a high-sec public moons, so that I could source all forms of the high-sec moon materials myself instead of having to go to the market. So we'll just quickly again have a look at, let's do it this way instead. In case you're not sure, the high-sec moons they produce R4 materials, and the R4 materials are this blue colour. Anything that's yellow is not R4, it's basically above, so R8, R16, R32 or R64, they're the different types of moons. But all the R4 materials are blue, and they're cheap, but you need them for Tech 2 manufacturing. I'm not going to disclose where the public moons are put on a YouTube video, because potentially then they could be overrun, and that's unfair. I'm not responsible for those moons at all, and I haven't spoken to the owners about whether or not they'd be happy with me disclosing it over YouTube, so I'm not going to say where they are. But you can reach out to me in game, and we can I can check with the owners and stuff, etc., about whether they can I can provide access. But so those high-sec moons are giving that's what my alt is mining. Is giving me access to all these minerals, and so my plan for the medium term is to produce a stockpile of the R4 materials in RC1 Wormhole and provide access at a heavily discounted price from the corporation to our members to use these so that they can do any T2 manufacturing they might want to do, and they have access to a big stockpile of these in the location they want to do the manufacturing. And what I'll also do is probably use some of that to stockpile some of the level 1 reactions. So carbon polymers, for example, use both R4 type moon materials. I want to run basically any reaction that just needs R4 moon materials. I will run and produce a stockpile of the output, again, that our members can use at a heavily discounted price to do manufacturing. Long term, and now this is obviously very long term because I'm not going to have access to all the types of moon materials for a very long time, but long term I want to do this for all reaction types, so that we just have a constant stockpile ready for if we want to do any sort of T2 manufacturing. That's the plan, but that's a very long term plan. And it's worth mentioning as well, I would never achieve that without being able to build sort of relationships. So again, another responsibility, and like this is worth doing for any role you want to take on in game. It's a really important part of EVE, and one of my favourite parts. But it's doubly important as a corporation director. It's building relationships with other people. So as I mentioned before, working on an avenue to get slightly cheaper fuel block things from a corporation. But similarly, the same chap that told me about the high-sec moon operations, he also, we've agreed that he has access to, so he's a bigger nullsec player, and he's agreed to give me access to any of the R64 moon materials he has, and others as well, not just R64, but any of the moon materials he has in nullsec that he doesn't use himself and decides to haul to market in highsec. He's going to give me first dibs to buy those before it makes it to market, again at a negotiated discounted price. So, as in all things, my ideal scenario is to avoid the market completely, because that way you can give ISK to our own corporation members or other players in the game that I like and respect, instead of just a random on the market. So that's one mechanism as to how I might achieve this dream of having a stockpile of all the reaction types, because build relationships with other people and members and corporations in nullsec that have access to all these different moon materials. We can hopefully one day achieve that. So that's what that element. There's also what I have forgot to mention before. How long? Again, this is running a bit long, so I'll try and keep these next little bits a bit briefer. But this video is also for the benefit of people within the corporation, so they can find out what we get a visibility of what we're trying to do. Stelco, Drell and I are, and with the help of one of our members, Taj, who's one of our industrialists, we are trying to produce a stockpile of low-level ships in our different areas of operations for our members to be able to use as and when they need. So we have recently stocked the C1 Wormhole with a whole bunch of ventures that are fit for different things. So we've got just mining ventures, we've got gas huffing ventures. There's a whole stockpile of those. There's I think maybe 30 or 40 that are going to be fit up and made available for our members just to take and use and keep for themselves. They're free as part of our ship replacement program. There'll be no expectation that anyone return those or give them back. We'll be trying to do the same thing in our C2, but we need to get better established in the C2 first. And also we are in a loose coalition at the moment with some guys down in LowSec, and again, one of the things I'm excited about is they have access to obviously now LowSec mining, so that would give us access to some of the other materials we can't get in HiSec or Wormhole space. And they also have several strong moons down there as well, and there's a whole additional content because there's the PvP element, there's factional warfare, all that stuff. So we're in a coalition down with them. We've been neglecting that a little bit at the moment, so our plan is to work much closer with those guys moving forward in the near future. So funded by the corporation, but mostly by Hot Black, we are going to be taking down a whole bunch of mining barges, and we'll take some ventures and stuff as well. But we're going to be taking a whole bunch of barges down to our staging system in LowSec, which we will fit up and make available to our members again. Here there will just be a pool of barges that people can take and put back the ship into as and when there are mining operations, or they want to go mine a moon or some ore down in LowSec. They can take a barge from the pool, mine for a bit, and then put it back. And I think if they lose it, no stress, the corporation will replace it, but ideally they won't keep it. That's the idea down there. We were prioritising that, but upon the discovery of the C2 wormhole, that got put on the back burner while we got set up in here. Now that we're getting established, we will refocus on the coalition and getting set back up down in LowSec. So I think that's largely it for this week. It's been quite a long video. It won't be this long every week because I've covered a fair bit in the background. But basically I've enjoyed this. It's nice for me to be able to talk through what we're doing in game. As I say, it's my method of sorting out what I need to do, getting things straight in my head, is to talk things through out loud with someone. And I think my girlfriend is getting a bit fed up of me talking about fictional made up spaceships that aren't important. So now I'm going to use all of you guys on YouTube to do this instead. And hopefully you guys find it interesting. If you like what the corporation is doing, and you see anything you might want to have a go at, as I say, we are recruiting. Please reach out to me or Hot Black or Drell Wazafa in game. We'd be excited to have you on board. I'm going to do this every week, so if you like the format, subscribe. You'll get one of these every Sunday. I'm still going to be producing my other random videos at different points. As I say, at some stage in the next couple of weeks there'll be a Porpoise mining video, and things like that. So as and when there's an event, I'll try and do an event video. Or we're living in the C2 wormhole now, so I'll be running several C2 combat sites, trying them out in my Gila or my Raven, or and I'll be producing videos on those. So they will come out at irregular intervals, but now every Sunday I plan to produce a video in this series. So I hope you enjoyed. If you do, please like the video, subscribe if you want to see more of this, and yeah, I hope to see you in game. Cheers guys, have a good one.